right. Welcome to
Okay.
another Israel Report. And this is Marco Quintana, pastor of Community Church of Devore here for Memorial TV. And we have our brother Jacob Prash. He's currently in the UK right now. Jacob, how are you this evening?
Doing well in Jesus, in Yeshua the Messiah. This is our first webcast from our new office near Stonehenge in England. The lighting and audio systems are in need of upgrading, and we're doing that this week. Bear with us, but this is our first one, and we're happy to be here, and we're happy to be with you. We
Thank you.
want to say greetings and welcome to everyone, including to our friends in Israel. Bruchim habayim lekol haverim shelanu ba'aretz Yisrael עכשיו. תודה שבאתם.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. And of course, we have Elon from Israel right on the ground floor. Elon, how are you this evening?
I'm okay, thank you, Marco. I'm very well. Yes.
All right. Want to say anything in
Ready
Hebrew?
to
'Cause
roll.
Jacob sounded cool. Say
Okay.
something in Hebrew. You can say
ערב טוב
something.
לכולם. אני אלון, אני גר בנהריה, בצפון הארץ. אוקיי, בואו נתחיל.
All right, very nice. Thank you, Elon.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll give you the floor, and let's talk about some things that are going on.
Okay, well, this week there's a lot of stuff, so I'm just going to zip through some of these shorter things, but there's a whole load of. I mean, it was hard to actually find a really good thread of things of a few things. So I'm just going to go through some very quick things that are in short. And one that will please Davy. I'm sure Davy already knows about this one. The
Yes.
Australian Prime Minister has been outed as a pro-Palestinian activist and terrorist sympathizer. There was an
Finally,
expose. Sorry?
finally, I said finally.
Yes, at last. Yes, I mean, his activities in the past, where he was meeting up with Yasser Arafat and other terrorist leaders, have been outed on Australian TV. Thankfully, it's about time. I hope that will open people's eyes more.
I really do hope so.
What they actually voted for. There've been a lot in the last week, a lot of anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli attacks in all over the place in Europe. Some of this stuff is really sick. In Milan's main cathedral plaza, there was this picture of a smirking woman holding a poster of Anne Frank addressed in a keffiyeh while mocking the Star of David with an upside down Palestinian flag triangle. A group called Code Pink, they were dressed up with Palestinian flags wearing
Oh no,
mock
not code
concentration camp
pink, not
uniforms.
code
Yeah,
pink.
did you see
Oh
all
man,
that? And that was
yeah,
outside the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum.
yeah.
Um, Another one was a Muslim BBC journalist called Sally Nabil. I think she reports from Egypt. They dug up some of her online posts praising the rape and massacre of people in October, 2023, and she was calling this thing a quality operation. It's sick stuff, and she's still got a job with the BBC, by the way.
Yes.
And there was another in Holland. There was a very nasty attack on some Israeli holidaymakers in the centre parks in Holland. One was beaten unconscious and had fractured eye socket and all kinds of other injuries. It was a really nasty, and the police seemed to be not very interested in helping. Um, Another guy in I think he looks like it's either Canadian Pakistani or a Pakistani Iraqi actor in called Ali Badshah in Canada. He's been trying to get the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to arrest any Jewish person that had ever served in the IDF that was in Canada.
Oh man,
Um, this is just getting worse. When a London man was arrested for saying "Am Israel Chai," that may the people of Israel live,
yeah, I did
in
see that.
front of a
He was
yeah
arrested just for saying that.
yes, because I think in the presence of all these pro Hamas demonstrators, he said that, and they got arrested him for that. the co-op in the UK, the cooperative society, or as it used to be, have now banned Israeli products. I mean, this just got this thing just this cycle of hatred and of anti-Israel feeling is just it's like a spiral. Um, on the good for the good news is that Abu Mazen, Mahmoud Abbas has been banned from entering the US. I mean, have you seen that one
Yeah.
yet?
Yay!
So he can't attend the General Assembly,
Oh, I wish they
which
would
is
ban. I got a list for Trump. If he wanted to ban any more people, I could send him a list of who
yeah.
should come.
And we now have also, when you've seen this thread that we've talked about over the last maybe last 5 or 6 sessions, and our relationship with Turkey, and it's deteriorating more. I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu recognized the Tur Turkey's genocide of Armenians,
Mhm.
Assyrians, and Greeks, and of course that's always a subject with Turkey anyway. But I mean, Erdogan now he's so upset that he's declared he's going to cut ties with Israel and cut all economic and trade relations and closed Turkish airspace to Israeli aircraft. So
Well, that's a great question, isn't it? Does Turkey need Israel more than Israel needs Turkey?
that is a interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much. I know we do import tomatoes from there and some other things, and some vegetables. I think.
Probably,
I think.
probably. And
Turkey
Uh,
had a gambling resort for Israeli tourists, a major one. That was like
it
their Los
used to be,
Angeles or
yeah.
Monte Carlo. And of course, that's
Um,
now shifted to Varna in Bulgaria simply because of
yes,
the anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic policies of the Turkish government.
I mean, at this
yes,
point,
yeah,
why would you want to go to Turkey with all the anti-Semitism and one of the, of course, the largest Muslim army in the world, in Erdogan, of course, who sees Islam as a rallying cry for Muslims to own Jerusalem, as he says, that's where he wants his caliphate to be. So,
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even think of going to Turkey. It's a danger. You could get arrested for spying if you had an Israeli passport. You really could. They could
oh
make up
man,
an excuse.
yeah,
Did
yeah,
did
I could see that.
did you anyone see that video on? It was out on X actually of the Houthi leadership
Oh yeah,
in Yemen,
did they get
where the
eliminated?
building there where they're all.
Did all of them get eliminated,
They took them
Elon?
out.
I A lot of them, yeah. I think the Prime Minister got eliminated, plus
Yeah,
some of his. I think it was a lot of the senior leadership
yeah.
of the Houthis. Their
Yes.
building blew up with them in it. Oh dear. So I don't think anyone will miss them. Well, we won't anyway. But if they mess around and they fire rockets at us, they can expect to get some payback. So
Oh, the
I
Houthis have been
hope that it cripples the
absolutely
organ.
not only against the Jews and obviously attacking Israel, shooting into Israel, but their own people. I mean, it's just the last 7 years
Yeah.
been a horrific thing that's going on in Yemen with
Yes.
starvation of children and at the behest of their own government and the Muslim government.
Yes.
I think it's on, is it on their flag? I think their flag says death to Israel, death to America, right?
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, they don't
It,
make it, they're not inconspicuous about what they believe.
Yeah, there's a common factor in all of these, like that the Iranian regime. They're running out of water. The economy's a mess. People are suffering,
Yes.
and they don't care as long as they can get their jihad in and keep attacking Israel. In fact, there's now reports that they're planning something else. That they've another attack, surprise attack, supposedly. There was something in the news about that, but not much detail. Um, so anyway, very quickly on to the next thing. There was a plea with from a group over here. It's called the Sovereignty Movement, and they're pleading with Bibi to act quickly to formalize the annexation of Judea and Samaria before the UN recognizes this fictional Palestinian Arab state.
Oh yeah,
Um,
they have to move on that quick.
Hmm.
yes, yeah. because it would cause it would that would make it more difficult. So I think that as a practical strategic move, it probably needs to happen pretty fast. Um, there was and the next thing is something just a bit weird. I mean, it sounds weird, but this is an example of the difference you can get in Israel between one city and the next, and how um you get what I'm saying, I think, when you hear this, and I'll go into detail on this because I thought this was very interesting. It said the Tel Aviv municipality has caused an outrage by demanding that dozens of synagogues in the city sign a contract promising to operate, quote, without distinction of gender or faith, unquote, while those that refuse to sign face eviction. In other words, Orthodox synagogues are being asked to stop operating according to Jewish law, according to a
Huh.
report by Netta Al-Bandel. This appeared on X. This did. And it says the actual plan of the municipality was to approach roughly 130 synagogues and have them sign an allocation contract stating that the synagogue will provide religious services to all residents of the neighborhood and nearby areas according to their character and nature, without distinction of age, gender, or faith, and the prayer text will be determined by the managing committee accordingly. It is clarified that no activity outside the purpose of the allocation specified above will be permitted. Now you can see this is, it says on as well, from the Tel Aviv municipality's perspective, a synagogue is a public resource, like a
Hmm.
community centre. So the city must decide who controls it and for what purpose. A city official explained that it is unacceptable for a completely secular neighborhood to have an empty synagogue visited only by a group of Haredim from outside the area on Shabbat, instead of allocating the building for public use. Now, this is quite interesting because, it moves to what I don't know if these synagogues are ones that have been built by the worshippers or they're
Hmm.
actual public buildings. But it kind of makes you, what's the word? It reminds me of what happened in China, when, where you had, the communist regime dictated what people were allowed to, and controlled a lot of the churches. Do you remember all of that?
Yes, the state
This
approved
this looks.
churches.
I mean, but it just goes to show how you know. I mean, Tel Aviv is probably not the leftist most city in all of Israel. I mean, you got this very, very strong homosexual and trans ethos and all the rest of it there. And it's very, very different from like Haifa or Nahariya here or Jerusalem, massively different. And uh, the fact that this looks a bit more like some kind of what's the word, seizure of private property as well, in a
Yes.
sense.
Eminent domain.
That's
I mean, did they have that law there? Eminent domain. They have
I,
that here.
uh, oh, I mean, no domain. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's actually exactly the same thing, but it is disturbing
Oh
that you
yeah.
would
I wonder
that
under the guise of what, Elon?
I don't know. I only
Yeah.
came across this. I mean, this I only came across this today, but it was in the it was an op-ed, I think, in actually originally I think it might have been in Israel Hayom, I think,
Hmm.
but this but before just before October the 7th, 2023, there was a big uproar in Dizengoff Square with between secular Israelis and Orthodox worshippers, and because the Orthodox wanted, of course, to separate women away from men in their worship and in this worship service that was happening in the square, and that caused there was a riot or something and violent clashes, and of course, a few days later, you got that the invasion from Gaza. But it just really goes to show, this is something that is. I mean, look, of course, we're not necessarily approving everything that the Haredim do or anything, but this looks like a really um, a real kind of vendetta against against religious Jews being
Yes.
executed by the municipality. To me, that's what it looks like.
The argument, of course, is the municipalities often fund the buildings. It's not like these religious institutions are privately funded. It's not like the United States or the England or anywhere where the religion owns the properties, even though they have a tax exemption. In Israel, it's different. The taxpayers fund it. You know what I'm saying? And therefore,
Yes, I
people
do understand.
since we're
Yes,
paying for this, we have a right to dictate the way in which it is used. But it relates to a more extensive issue. Ben Gurion, at the
yes,
foundation of the state, made a deal with the National Religious Party to create a permanent majority government to keep the Likud, as it became known, Tzvi Lumi, Begin's people, and so forth, the people who followed Jabotinsky, out of power. And as part of that, the Labor Party, known as the Barak then, made this deal with the National Religious Party, and a deal where the ultra-Orthodox would not have to serve in the military. They made these concessions early on in the state, but then the demography of the country, the ultra-Orthodox were much smaller percentages of the society than they've since become, given their birth rate. So now you have a conflict between the secular Israelis who founded the country and the religious who are needed demographically because of their high birth rate. They actually outbreed the Muslims or the Arabs. So this is a conflict because with the demography, the political control of the country is in certain respects going to tip towards the religious. Absolutely. So you see conflict between the religious and the secular, but it's not just about this local issue in Tel Aviv. It's symptomatic of an overall conflict between secular Zionism and religious Zionism, or even in some cases, anti-Zionism. Some of these religious parties, like Agudat Israel, remain anti-Zionist. So that is the situation. We want you to subsidize our yeshivas. We want you to subsidize our synagogues. But then it goes even further. They will not allow, for any kind of legal purpose, a rite of passage, a recognized marriage, anything like this. A Reformed Jew, a Reformed rabbi, a conservative rabbi, they cannot have synagogues that are funded publicly, and they cannot perform legal rites of passages. Of the, say, 60 or so nations in the world that are democracies, the only one that refuses freedom of religion to Jews is Israel. Israel actually is the only democracy in the world which legally refuses freedom of religion to other Jews.
There is.
And particularly and what they do to the Reformed Jews, which most American Jews are, if they're anything, and what they do to the conservative Jews who are semi-Orthodox, is nothing what they do to Messianic Jews, to Jewish believers. So that is the situation you're dealing with. They are rabbinic fascists. They're rabbinic fascists, and there's a reaction to it because secular Israelis are getting afraid of what the future is going to be like, of the country becoming compulsory in terms of not driving on a Saturday and all this other stuff.
Which kind of brings me actually to the final thing that I was just, because this is on a related topic, and this was again on X from a report, and it said that for the first time in Jerusalem's history, the majority of first graders in school will be enrolled in ultra-Orthodox schools. Out of around 16,000 Jerusalemites beginning their school journey on September the 1st, some 8,400 will go to Haredi schools compared to about 4,500 in state schools and 3,500 in Arab schools. The ultra-Orthodox currently make up about 14% of Israel's population, and their numbers are only growing. The number of Haredi students entering Jerusalem's education system this year is another disturbing reminder of the demographic changes taking place in Israel. At a mere 14% of the population, ultra-Orthodox politicians are already causing an IDF manpower shortage and can take down the government at will. And then the writer says, now ask yourself what will happen when they make up 1/3 of Israel's population, and you can begin to understand why so many Israelis are fearful for
Yeah.
the country's future. I mean, it's not just the IDF that they don't want to do national service. It's also the fact that many of these ultra-Orthodox, they're not regular Orthodox, we're talking ultra-Orthodox here, that they also don't actually join the economy in a positive way. They're just permanent students or something. Many of
Living
them
off
don't
the
have
public
normal
purse.
jobs.
Living off the public purse in many cases.
Yes. So of course, this is not a sustainable model. As they become more, as they become a greater proportion of the population, this model isn't sustainable because someone has to pay taxes to be able to, they're
Yep.
not paying into the system basically. They're net withdrawers on the system rather than contributors.
On top of that, subsidies to yeshivas, and on top of that, they won't serve in the military. Um,
Yes, all of this together.
the other
So
factor in Tel Aviv is, even though Tel Aviv itself is very much, as Yvonne pointed out, a secular city, it really is. Tel Aviv, like any other major city in the developed world, is a metropolitan area. It's not just Tel Aviv, it's Greater Tel Aviv.
yes,
It encompasses not just Tel Aviv and Yafo, but a number of outskirts cities, satellites, neighborhoods, and suburbs. Generally, it's called Greater Tel Aviv is called Gush Dan, Gush Dan. And one of the biggest communities and fastest growing communities in Gush Dan is Bnei Brak. Bnei Brak.
yeah,
Bnei Brak
yeah,
is to Tel Aviv what Borough Park, Brooklyn is to New York. It's just wall to wall ultra Orthodox Jews with an astronomically high birth rate. So even though they do not have control over Tel Aviv itself, they are a force to be reckoned with, not only nationally, but within Gush Dan, within Greater Tel Aviv.
mm, yeah. So this is an ongoing issue that's been burning for years, but it's there has to be some kind of resolution at some point. Otherwise, it could cause severe economic problems. And that's just one aspect of it.
You see, people don't understand that in New York City, the demographically largest Jewish population center in history, Jews are the third biggest poverty group in New York, the third biggest. Not blacks and Hispanics are bigger, but after the blacks and Hispanic, it's the Jews, and it's more impoverished Jews below the poverty line than Irish or Italian or Polish. It's Jews. Now, why is it like that? Well, it's the ultra Orthodox that are on welfare. They have the same mentality that they should be paid for going to yeshiva, the way that the people in Bnei Brak and Mea Shearim believe they should be paid for going to yeshiva. Only in New York, it's let the Goy support us. In Israel, it's let the Masoretim or the secular Jews support us. The Hilonim. That's how they think.
Yeah.
They're very much like Muslims with the jizra, with demitude. You have to pay us because you're not one of us.
Yeah.
We're entitled to social benefit and all this kind of thing. Another example is the fundamentalist Mormons in the American West. They have polygamous marriages, multiple kids, huge families, and they're on welfare. They're on welfare.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
what you see with the fundamentalist Mormons and within Islamic communities, you see the same thing among ultra-Orthodox Jews, both diasporically, but especially in Israel. They all do the same thing.
Yeah. Elon, I'm just gonna cut it off right now because we reached our limit. So just final thoughts, and got 1 minute. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, one little thought, I think. There was something that just came up on someone had posted about an Israeli son who's just talking about a conversation with his father. And I thought this was very interesting. He asked his dad, said, "Dad, why are there wars?" And his father said to him, "Well, there are good people and the bad people. We're the good people. We need to fight and eliminate the bad ones so that when you grow up, there'll be no more wars." And he says, "My father was wrong. And this has been going on for decades. When will it all stop? Can this cycle ever end?" And that's a real question, I think, that a lot of people think, will this ever get any better? And, without the Lord, really, we have no hope of that, but we can see from the scriptures, like from Isaiah chapter 11 and Psalm 72, just for examples, that one day the Lord is going to fix this mess because,
Amen.
it can't go on like this. But, in a world that's growing ever darker, the scriptures really do give you hope, and we know these promises will come to pass. We can see moving towards the realization of these things. But without that, yeah, you wonder what hope people have, don't you?
They're just
Really? I mean,
wishing,
this,
they just wish and they wish. That's really a wishful
yeah,
thinking that it'll somehow get better. But you're
Yep.
absolutely right. Thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you for being with us.
it's okay.
I know it's later
Good night,
for you, and so have a great evening. Hopefully it's
and
cool
you
down
all
for you.
too.
Hopefully it's cooling down there for you, but maybe you're going to hit fall season pretty soon. So God bless you and have a good evening.
Go to
Bless you
Violet
all. Shabbat
Shabbat Shalom
shalom.
B'bayit.
Shabbat shalom לכולם, ולילה טוב.
Violet Tov.
Bye.